Hi everyone! In this video we're going to discuss the TV series Andor and how it managed to tell a great compelling story featuring a diverse cast of characters, each of them quite unique and interesting. So let's go! Diversity has become Hollywood's favorite marketing tool. They use it as a way to promote their movies as progressive and special. And it's not just Hollywood. Book publishers are also favoring books and stories that feature a diverse cast, which is good per se. Problem is that oftentimes diversity feels forced. Characters seems to be added just to check a box, but that's not the case with Andor. Andor has a great diverse cast of characters from different ages, different sexuality, different genders, different backgrounds, different morality, all this wonderful mix of different human beings fighting on the opposite sides, but the lines between good and evil often blur. So it has all those ingredients that tell a great story, and I was impressed by the way they handled such a big cast, by the way they managed to tell a compelling story, and so I want to discuss this with you. I will try to avoid major plot spoilers, but they might be minor spoilers in regards to the characters. The funny thing is that the story is called Andor, but actually it features so many characters. Like, there are really a lot of characters in this show. Each of them seems to be placed perfectly, like everyone has their part to play. So even Andor should be the focus. Actually, the focus seems to be more like the group effort of the rebellion against the Empire and how the Empire navigates the situation. And the great thing is that neither the rebellion nor the Empire is just black and white. There is a lot of nuance and complexity, and I think that is the appeal of Andor, that we get a Star Wars story with more time to explore different characters, even the everyday soldier to I don't know, higher ups like Mon Mothma. We see the different parts of the rebellion. We also see the different parts of the Empire inside their structure. So the point is that this kind of story is the perfect playground to create a really diverse cast, because you have group effort from different people. You know, this world is really big, like the Star Wars universe. You know, you have a lot of different cultures and species, and this could have gotten really bad in the sense that sometimes in other stories, in other media, characters are just like tokens, like, oh, we have this type and this type and this type, and they kind of feel shallow, like they're just there for representation's sake. But here, each character feels real. The diversity is very organic, also very logical. So let's talk about more specific aspects now. So the settings of Andor are more than just pretty backgrounds. We go to different planets, but each of these planets has their own culture. You know, oftentimes culture is just an aesthetic, but here it just feels like more real. There's more detail to it. It's not overly explained, but you just see, like, in the way people dress, in the way people greet each other, in the way they interact, in their little traditions and rituals. All this adds up to the feeling of this being real in a way. A good example is Gorman, which does feel like really fleshed out world. Also, it was nice to see Mon Mothma's planet, and we can understand her character better by understanding the world around her. And then there is Coruscant, which is this huge city, and it's like a melting pot of different cultures and aliens and humans. It feels diverse enough in sense of culture and cultural differences, and it really, I like the logic of it. Like, Coruscant is full of different people because it makes sense. Gorman is a more closed society, and actually that helps the Empire to create this propaganda about Gorman people being arrogant because they are more closed. So everything is logical and it makes sense, and that makes it more real, more relatable. Because sometimes I feel like in the desire to make the diversity movies, they make them a bit like utopian, you know? Oh, this world, everyone is represented, everyone is friends with each other, everyone lives happily together, which is not how the world works. It's how maybe we want it to be, but it's not so realistic. Like, there are still societies that are more homogeneous, there are societies that are more mixed, there is conflict between people based on differences of opinions, of morality, and so on and so on. So I feel like a story is stronger when it's more real, when it's talking about real problems and real people, rather than being like this perfect utopian diverse version of it sometimes they make. So in this case, the different settings, the different cultures, the different planets, I think are done quite well and quite realistic, as much as this could be realistic, of course. And it adds up. It creates a more layered feeling to the show. Now let's talk a bit about genders, especially about female characters, because this is another struggle of Star Wars and Hollywood and stories and books and movies in recent years about the female characters. Like, everyone wanted to make better female characters. Like, yes, female characters have been a bit misrepresented. You know, we had a lot of one-dimensional female characters in the past, and there was this desire to make them better somehow, more complex. But this resulted in the creation of the girl boss, in the creation of this girl warrior that is like better than anyone. It just escalated. It escalated in maybe not the best direction. I mean, I don't mind occasional girl boss character who kicks ass and it's awesome. No problem. But what I like about Andor is that we have more than that. We have a good balance between female and male characters, and they're not like in a competition to, you know, who is better, who is smarter. They kind of work together. The female characters are not strong on the expense of the male characters. Like, no male character is made to be dumb or stupid in order for the female character to stand out. And for example, we have so many female characters who are different, and I love that. I love Mon Mothma. Honestly, I wanted more of this kind of female characters. She's strong because of her intelligence, because of the way she manages to navigate the situation she is in. She has this natural elegance to her, like this kind of aristocracy vibe to her. And she's just awesome. And then you see her sacrifice as well, because this story is a lot about sacrifice and what she is sacrificing for this idea. How she's breaking on the inside and having doubts, and then has to make difficult choices. And then you have her cousin Val, who is more active. She's going out there on the field, she's fighting, she's sacrificing different things. And then you have Cinta, who is even one level more into the fighter vibe, you know, like she's even more active. She's like ruthless. She's ready to do anything. Then you have Bix, who is suffering from kind of trauma, but still manages to get herself together. One character can be a victim in one moment, and then they can be a hero in the next moment. Like, they have a journey, right? They have moments of vulnerability. This word, it's hard for me to pronounce. Vulnerability, yeah? They have these moments which make them human, and I love them. I love the variety of female characters in Andor. And then we have Clea, who grew up to become one of the most fascinating characters. In season 1, maybe she wasn't all that fleshed out, but in season 2, we learn more about her, and she's like such a cool character, and the actress did such a good job with her. She's really making an impression, right? And still we have her needing help. Like, she can be super independent and strong, and then the next moment she needs Andor's help. That's great, because we had this female characters before that, they don't need anybody's help. They can do anything by themselves. Okay, maybe. But I like it when characters can be strong in one moment, they can save somebody, and then they themselves might need help. And this collaboration between different people that help each other in moments of difficulties is what actually creates this rebellion, creates this alliance that can stand against the Empire, because they help each other, because they're there for each other no matter how much they're ready to sacrifice. And then there is the Empire, and we have Dedra, who is like probably one of the coolest Star Wars characters recently. She's so menacing and so layered, and you almost kind of like her, but you don't. Instead, that of course we know what she's doing is bad, and we can see that she was just born into this world, and her morality and viewpoints are kind of twisted. She probably deserves what she gets, but still she was cool, and her relationship with Cyril was amazing, but we're gonna talk about that a bit later. So yeah, I wanted to talk about the female characters, especially because I was personally missing this kind of variety in the female characters recently. And then we have Luton, who, again, a great character. I think one of, again, the fans' favorite, who was so morally gray, but just so compelling. And then there was Andor, who was just kind of thrown in the middle of all of this, trying to do the best things he can. And there's Saw Gerrera, who is so out there, but he's also so fascinating. I think here every character is memorable. Even like Kinoloy, which is Andy Serkis' characters from the first season, we didn't know anything about him. We don't know why he ended up in prison. We don't know anything about him, but still he's memorable, and the acting, his dialogue makes him so compelling. And maybe the fact that we don't know so much about him makes him even more interesting. And there are so many characters in this show that they may show up for like 2-3 scenes, but they feel real and they feel they're part of the story, and it's just all those pieces coming together in a very good way. I think it's really a textbook of how to make good characters, even without too much explanation or too much backstory. Just the moments, the scenes themselves, the way the characters interact with each other or with the world tells you enough to like them. So let's talk about the villains a bit. You know, we have Dedra and Cyril and Krennic, all those guys. First of all, they don't feel like some kind of group of idiots. They feel menacing. Each of them has their own ambition. Like, I like Krennic since Rogue One. He's not a good person. Like, you can see that he got where he got because he was ruthless. But that's what's compelling about him. You don't want a villain who is just laughing, being maniacal. Villains who are more complex are more interesting to me. And they don't have to be complex in the sense that, oh, they're morally gray. No, they can be evil, but still they can be complex in the way they interact with the world or with others. Like, for example, Dedra and her relationship with Cyril showed more of her human side in a way. Like, she could love somebody. She wanted to be in a relationship with him. She wanted things to work out for them, but she wasn't capable of understanding even her own feelings. I don't think she was. I mean, we learn more about her background. We learn she grew up in an institution. Probably she doesn't know how to be in a loving relationship, and she does a lot of questionable things that, you know, that's maybe a different topic. But yeah, and then Cyril himself, he believes in the Empire, but you can see that he's just a person of principle. Maybe he's misguided in his belief in the Empire, but he thinks law and order are above everything. A bit of a spoiler here, but he goes on a journey of realizing maybe his own misconceptions. He understands more about what actually the Empire is. So this is all interesting, all different levels of the Empire. You see there are some people that work for the Empire who are just doing their job. You see there's like those who take advantage of the situation, like the guy who tried to force himself on Biggs. You see that the Empire is just an institution created by different people. But this movie made the Empire, again, menacing. When you see that your antagonist is capable, cunning, smart, then you're really worried about your characters, right? And when they cross paths, okay, a bit of a spoiler, you can skip, okay? When Dedra and Luton meet, that was such an interesting moment because you're kind of looking forward to these people to meet, and then you see that her mistake is basically her arrogance and her desire to, you know, enjoy the moment when she wants to catch him more than anything. I think the behavior of the people inside the Empire, it's kind of ruining the Empire, you know, because you attract those people who are very ambitious. You know, you attract people with bad tendencies, and then they kind of rotten on the inside. Okay, that's a different topic. Now let's talk about the relationships in Andor. We already mentioned Dedra and Cyril, which was a very unique kind of dynamic that I haven't seen often around, and I didn't expect to see in Star Wars, but it was so fun. You can see how awkward they are. That again is very telling about what kind of people they are, like Cyril and Dedra, how inadequate they are in certain situations. And obviously they're people, they have feelings, but the Empire is kind of even ruining that for them. without them realizing. Like the Empire's making Dedra lie, and she is choosing to follow her orders and puts Serial in kind of a little bit of a dangerous situation, let's say. But yeah, that was very fascinating relationship. And then you have Andor and Bix, which was very romantic. Even like their relationship is very sweet, and you can see them finding some small moments where they can be together, and that relationship reminds you, why are they fighting? They're fighting for the people they love, they're fighting for their family, and they have something personal at stake compared to Luton, who has given up everything. He's given up love and family and all these kind of things. And then you have Vel and Cinta relationship, which is a queer relationship, but it's done so well. It just fits into the story quite well. It's never treated differently. It just feels like, oh, this is a romantic relationship within different people. And it's just love, And each of these people have other things that they are fighting for outside of that relationship. Each of them have maybe the conflict, like, for example, Cinta and Vel at one point are separated. Their desire to fight for the cause puts their relationship in a bit of a difficult position. So you have this different romantic relationships in the context of the same story, but you also have different kinds of relationship, like between Luton and Clea, which is a very unique relationship. Like they are united because they are fighting against the same thing, but there is a bit of a tension even between them, and we finally see their backstory and how they came together and how they work together. And there is even the relationship between the different rebel leaders that at times is a bit strained. A lot of different points of view, a lot of different situations, but they're just stitched together very nicely. And that brings us to the morals of the story. Like this story, it's never preachy. It's never like telling you what is right or what is wrong. It's never over-explaining anything. On the contrary, it requires you to pay attention to understand everything that's happening, and leaves a lot of room for interpretation, a lot of room for thought, which is great. And even the morals of the characters, you can argue about who is right or wrong for days, I think. You can argue if what Luton was doing was actually necessary, or if he was sometimes too extreme. He would kill anyone who would be any kind of liability to him. And I like that there is different thresholds each of those characters is ready to reach. Like Cassian has he has some limit of what he's ready to sacrifice. Luton has a different limit. Mon Mothma has a different one. And then the situation they are in is pushing their boundaries. And it's making them go further and further. And how far would they go? What is the line between the good and the evil in some sense? And I liked when there was some confrontation between Cassian and Luton, when Cassian was like, there is a line I wouldn't cross in such a way. And that made Luton react in a different way. So all these interactions are quite interesting, again, because you have these different points of view and different morals. But, it's sometimes maybe you can argue it's easier to make some extreme decisions when you have nothing to lose. And it's harder when there is your loved ones on the line. Like if there is somebody waiting for you, or if there is somebody you want to help, then it becomes more complicated. But then if you love nothing and you have nothing to lose, you can lose yourself as well in that fight. You can cross so many boundaries that you become the very evil you fight, This kind of dynamics, moral questions and stuff like that are quite interesting. And I like that Cassian oftentimes has his boundaries quite clear. Like he didn't want to get too involved with Gorman. He stepped away when things were getting out of hand. He's quite interesting, but I feel like Cassian sometimes is overshadowed by how complex and interesting everyone else is. Like one of the best aspects of this story is the cast and the characters, and how it managed to tell so many stories, to have diversity, to have representation, to have all those nice marketing words used to tell a good story, and it helped flesh out the world of Star Wars even more and more. And since I'm kind of interested in this topic, I wanted to make a few more Star Wars videos, and I'm thinking to make one fun video of tier ranking the Andor characters based on how morally gray they are. So yeah, that will come soon as well. And then I want to go back to discuss the Stormlight, because I finished the books, I finished the Stormlight archive. I feel it's going to be easier for me if I just make the videos in chunks. Like now I cover Star Wars a bit, then we go to the Stormlight, and then I want to discuss a little bit about the modern storytelling. I want to make a few videos about publishing, movie adaptations of some books and stories. I have a lot of ideas, but I have to sort them out and see how it goes. Let me know what kind of videos do you prefer to see, what it's more interesting to you. Maybe that can give me some direction on what to choose to talk about. That's it for today. I hope you liked this video. Let me know if you have seen Andor and if you liked it or not. What is your favorite Star Wars TV series from the Disney era, if any? Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.